Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and I absolutely hope that you enjoy today's spiritual message. You know, we at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center are committed to helping people live better lives. We're going to provide you tools over and over, spiritual tools that allow you to live your best possible life. And if you want to leave a donation to continue to allow the work that we do to support other people just like you, we say thank you. Thank you for your generosity, because this ministry is committed to making the world a better place. Okay, so I want to do a shout out to everybody who watches this online, because one of the things that I hope you're proud of is how much your ministry goes out beyond the walls of this place to serve people that may never come here. I got a nice note from a minister in New Mexico this week, and the line that really struck me, she said, "As you inspire me, I inspire my congregation." Isn't that good? So I love that, right? So to everybody in New Mexico who's watching us tonight, and Reverend Terry, thanks for your kind letter. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we are on week 3 of spring training. And I know that every week I said I was going to wear baseball clothes. I will make amends. It's just, I know right now I'm not going to do it next week. So you can absolutely do it, but apparently it just is not going to work. So we are going, but spring training is all about what? Going back to spiritual basics, right? And in Unity, we have some spiritual basics. And if we get too far away from spiritual basics, we get a little out ahead of our skis. You know, and if you've ever skied, when you get too far out ahead of your skis, it's usually not pretty. Like there's a downward process that we're going to be experiencing. And so the first week, do you remember what we talked about the first week? God is, right? The idea that God is, and that we get to understand God, that we get to really look at God in a new way. And then last week, do you remember what we talked about? I am. Oh my gosh, you guys actually remember. All right? Right? The idea that God is and I am. And today I want to talk about what I think are the 3 most powerful thoughts that unleash us at the greatest way. So anybody want to take a stab at what you think is the first most powerful thought? I'm going to suggest to you tonight that I think the most powerful thought is God is. Because when we actually entertain the God is, when we let our mind really kind of wrap our mind around the idea of what God is, we actually have the ability to entertain the mind of God. We actually have the ability to discern the creative power of the universe. And the most powerful thought is anytime that we focus our mind on God, it is our most powerful thought. How many of you feel like you were raised in a religious experience that was more superstition than spiritually valuable to you? Anybody feel like that? A lot of us came from experiences where there was a lot of superstition, but not a lot of spiritual truth that was actually liberating, that didn't actually set us free. But one thing I like about here is that we are not told that there's certain things that we have to believe in about God. We're actually invited to think for ourselves and begin to use our mind and our thoughts to actually discern what God is, that we can read the greatest thinkers of our time and really contemplate their understanding of God and really come into a greater experience or greater understanding of God. So God is, for me, is the most powerful thought that we can think. And the next one is like the first one. Do you know what that one is? The second most powerful thought is? I am. Because with I am, that we actually get to define ourselves. That we get to take full responsibility for who we are and how we live and how we show up is I am. And for many of us, the way that we have defined I am is less than helpful, right? Have you ever had a time in your life where your definition of you wasn't the kindest, the best, the most productive, that you really believed that you were broken or less than or a sinner, or, right? That you were somehow created in a way that was less than the glory of God. So the second most powerful thought is I am. I am created in the image and likeness of God. And anybody want to take a shot at what I believe is the third most powerful thought? We can? Yes, we can, or it's very close. I will. that the third most powerful thought is after you've defined yourself to really decide what you're going to do with it. Because once you begin to actually play with the idea of I will, you actually begin to unleash the power of God in you. See, when you live in the I am, you define it and you feel good and you know the truth of who you are, but it's not until you begin to move that energy out into the world, because we are called not only just to be spiritually wonderful, but we're actually called to be spiritually expressed. Like the light was set into the world to bring light to the world, not just to go, oh, isn't that great light? Right? So the third most powerful thought that we can hold is I will, because I will then begins to channel that infinite presence and power of God in a way that you define, that you get to decide. The creative energy of the universe waits for you to define how your I will be expressed. Now, what I want you to begin to see is that most of us don't really get to I will. Some of us get to I might, right? Or anybody, I could. Yes, you could. But it doesn't matter until you will. Or how about this? Were anybody raised in a family where the dominant thought is I should? Right? How many of you have ever sat on the couch saying, I really should go do that? Right? Thank God for remotes. We literally, and you know, I saw in a commercial, they now have lazy boys with refrigerators in them. Holy moly, if they had like a little Susie bake oven so you could actually bake a cookie to go with your refrigerator, we would never get off of our lazy boys again, right? So I might, not as strong, I could, I should. How about this one? I want. Right? What I want you to begin to see is that we have all these words that are almost creative. Right? But they're not really creative. That they entertain a possibility, but they don't really move that possibility into a full expression. That until we begin to give up all of ours, I should, I could, I would, I want, I might, and when we move all of those possibilities into expression, then the way that we do that is I will. Well, I don't want to be committed. Like, let's just dance a little bit more, and then I might decide. But what if tonight you unleash the full power of God in you by defining what you will? Can I tell you a story from my own life? So we were raised in a very middle-class family in Orange County, Southern California. And in the neighborhood I grew up with, it was in the 70s that kind of got into my teenage years. And most of my buddies, when they graduated from high school, went into construction. And why did they go into construction? Because you could make a ton of money, and that just looked very attractive. Well, and I wanted to make a ton of money. Anybody ever been in that place where you don't want to go to college, or you don't want to do what's in front of you because you want to go, yeah, good. I wanted that. And I'm going to tell a story of my mom. My mom, from the time that we were little, would only say, you are going to college. Right? You will go to college. Right? You will go to college, right? Did everybody get what she said? You will go to college, right? That I was in my junior year of college before I realized it was a choice that I'd made. Seriously, I didn't want to be there. It was my junior year before I realized, wait, this was a choice, right? But it was so programmed into me by my mother, and for my brother and my sister, the exact same thing, that you will go to college over and over and over again, that I actually did not see another option. Now, you can say, well, Richard, we're about all possibilities. Got it. But for my mom, there was only one possibility. Because she and my dad wanted a greater life for her kids than they knew. And they believed that if they gave their kids education, it would set them free. And she said, you will do this. And we did it. All of us. We did it. And what I want you to see is over and over again, that until you get to your I will, there's just craziness. Like, yes, in the world, is there infinite possibilities? Yes. But can you live infinite possibilities? No. You actually have to pick one path. And you have to pick that one path and actually take the steps one after another until you become the expression of that. I will. Over and over again, what I want you to see tonight is what would happen if you actually gave yourself a complete I will. And you can decide what you're going to do with that. I will heal. I will prosper. I will have a loving relationship. I will transform my life. I will. But I want you to see and feel, if you can, your own resistance to going all in into your I will. Because until you go all in with your I will, then it's an I might, or I could, or I should, or maybe I should get off the couch. And I want you to see the places where you know in your heart that God has greater good for you, but you haven't committed to it being an I will, so it never becomes a reality for you. See, in unity, shoot the slide up there, will you? Thoughts held in mind. In unity, our third greatest teaching is the law of mind action that says, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. How many of you have ever heard that or something like it, right? And so one of the ways that we hear that is almost like any random thought will become my reality. Have you ever heard of the law of attraction? The idea is like that every little thought becomes your next reality. Well, it doesn't quite work like that. Because it is the thought that you are the most committed to that becomes your reality. Not just any random thought. You got 60,000 thoughts in a day. You don't become each one of those 60,000 thoughts. But it becomes the thoughts that you decide and link your I will to that become your reality. That over and over again, the people that succeed in anything are the people that have the determination, that link their I will to anything. Because once you link your I will to anything, it will be made manifest because you are a child of God. And if you dance around it, if you live in I might or I should or I could or I want to, then you're always driving with the brake on. Now, why is it important that there be an order to these three thoughts? Who's the source of everything? God. Who are you? Right? You're created in His image and likeness, right? See, if you go to the third step before you get the first two right, you can powerfully create, but even what you create doesn't have a lot of meaning because you haven't discovered who you are yet. Has anybody ever created a great life, but you lost yourself in the process? Right? Because you hadn't first defined your I am. See, there's actually a means to this madness, that it all starts with God. Can you see that? That everything in your life starts with God. But the second most important thing is that you actually have to define yourself. Who do you want to be in the world? What are your values? What are the things that you want to be in the world? Because you have to decide your I am. But then once you decide your I am, the entire universe is a big old set of ears that's waiting for you to decide your I will. And then when you're determined, when your I will is locked in, everything becomes possible. How many of you know there was a time in my life where my life kind of imploded? Anybody heard stories? You probably heard stories. There was a time in my life, and within 90 days, I left the church, got a divorce, and my dad died. Yeah, too much, right? Too much. Left the church, too much, right? And in that time, which was probably the lowest point of my life, I had to decide what was next for me. And what I came up with was I knew that I had an I will that still hadn't been fulfilled. And I let that I will be the organizing principle of what was next. And that I will was that I was going to be happy, free, and wildly in love. That was my I will. And I didn't know how that was all going to come to be, but I knew that that was the most important thing in my life, that I wanted to be happy, I wanted to be free, and I wanted to be wildly in love. And I committed to that as my I will. And I didn't, do you hear that I didn't know how that was all going to come together? But the commitment to your I will opens all kinds of possibilities that you can't even imagine today. That once you know who you are, the entire universe says, so what are you going to do with it? And me, I decided I wanted to be happy, free, and wildly in love. What's your I will? What's your I will? What's the I will that you've been afraid to claim? What's your I will that you think you actually have to know how to do it before you claim it? What's your I will? Because the moment you claim your I will, everything in your life opens up. I will heal. I will prosper. I will transform my life. I will transform the world. I will transform my community. I will. Will you say just I will with me? I will. One more time. I will. Now feel that. There's a part of your ego that says, shh, 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 don't say it. Yeah, don't go that far. Don't be that big. Don't be that bold. Don't be that out of control. Don't claim your I will. But the moment you claim your I will, the entire universe begins to pay attention to you. I will. One more time. Will you say that with me? I will. I will. I will. And everything begins to move. Everything begins to move. That once you know God, and once you know who you want to be in the world, the most important decision is what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? I will. Will you say that one more time with me? I will. Now, can you feel something beginning to stir in you as you say that? Like, it's like this power that's always been in there, but you've never fully unleashed it. And what if tonight, the thing that you hear me say is just, you get to decide. You want to go this way? Great. And it's like, how many of you have been afraid that if you unleash your I will, you could make a mistake? How great is that? Right? So what if you use your I will, and then you decide, 6 months from now, oh, this didn't really feel like exactly the way I wanted. I'm going to change my I will. Now, do you ever get penalized for that? Does God frown on that? Are you shamed by that? No. Do you go to hell for that? No, there's no downside. You're an infinite creation and have all the time and energy in the universe that the more you unleash your I will, even if it's in the wrong direction, right? How are you going to know that until you unleash your I will and experience it and realize, oh, that's the wrong way. Okay, then you redo it. There's no harm, there's no foul. You just yell mulligan to the universe and you get to hit the ball again. Nobody else has played golf? Right? I will. Will you say that with me? I will. One more time. I will. I will. That tonight you get to decide. You get to decide and unleash the full power of God in any direction that you decide. Whatever it is for you. Whatever it is, whatever limitation that you've been dancing with, and tonight you're ready to break it open, I will. I will. I will. Will you pray with me? I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to feel the presence and power of God right here, right now. That we unleash the full power of God in us by I will. I will. I will express God in the greatest possible way. I will be the light unto the world. I will. And the more that we claim the power of God within us, the more we focus it, we become laser clear. We become empowered beyond anything that we've known before. I will. That the entire universe is waiting for us to have the courage to use our I will. And the moment we do, everything moves. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. God bless you all. Have a great week. Thanks for being here.